Alright guys, today's video, after 9,000 years of no videos, um, is about, I'm just gonna talk about Shisui and the meta, and how it's evolved, and where it's going, and if he's going away with Asura coming out. Totally. Alright, so he's been out for 217 days. It's quite a while. It's pretty standard for a overpowered BT to last well past 200 days. As P1 King. But I'm going to talk about teams before certain events and after. So I'm just going to sort of some fucking teams. So when you can ignore the main. The main doesn't matter. By the way, positioning doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. It's just the units involved and how they work. So Shisui came out. There was a myriad of teams people ran. Nothing was very prolific. Nothing really stuck. Nothing was like the meta team until a certain BT came out, and then we started to see kind of a meta team cement itself. But this was a team I ran, and it did work. It was very devastating if you got it to work. So if your opponent wasn't running Jiraiya, you were probably gonna outscale him in initiative because Jiraiya is providing initiative scaling, and he's overpowered, extra chase, blah 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 blah. This bitch is only here for one reason and one reason only. So his mystery, it's unavoidable, fantastic. It steals a standard, and then it gives irremovable blindness for 1 round. So the way that this shit works is because he steals a standard, it's now considered the next round. So this month you're going to make them blind for let's say round 2 and round 3, and then guess what? His shit's gonna be off cooldown again. So if you can blind your opponent and lock them down with Shisui, they're never going to do anything ever again. So this is devastating if your opponent didn't have answers for this. And when this was out, there really wasn't a lot of answers, especially in our P1 stack meta. You couldn't really stop it. You had to choose. Do you get your mystery locked? Do you get your standards locked? And that was a hard choice for many people to make. And then it's like sometimes hard to tell who's actually faster and stuff like that. But anyways, so this was a team. It worked well, but again, there was no meta yet. Then you could use Mr. Adomadara, but this was hard to use because it was just hard to consistently land his mystery because of Shisui dodging. It required more setup, more effort. It was decent, and then he had the tree providing poison. It was a good team. It was a solid choice. The more the stronger you were. I think at the beginning of this meta, I was like low 3 mil or close to 3 mil. Now by the end, I'm almost 5 mil. So it's a lot different for me. Like I had a really strong P1 and P2, and then an okay, kind of weak P3 and a really weak P4. But by the end, I'm almost the same across the board. Each position is a threat to my position 1. Anyways, but these teams can work at lower power because it really only relies on P1 and P2. It's not a full, squad team. We're not China. Even at even stack 5 mil, it's still not China. It's still different. But yeah, so obviously you would run the fear mystery, and you would try and consistently get fears on your opponent. But it's had chakra problems. It depends. Whoever was providing you the chakra to do both mysteries each round might have got controlled. It was inconsistent. Next we had the we better hope you're fucking faster team, because Obito ain't doing shit for you if you're not faster, and a lot of whales ran this team. This would be the closest to the staple team, the staple meta team before a certain BT came out. But it wasn't good. This team doesn't do fucking anything to counter Shisui whatsoever. You could largely ignore Obito, because Obito was there if they were running it properly, literally to provide. He was gonna run the if you touch him, you get irremovable Nin sealing. So you pretty much make it as long as he's alive that their Shisui's never gonna scale Nin the entire fight, or pause scaling Nin, but. It was a good damage reduction. Obviously, he's good damage with his chases, and he suppresses super armor, but he really wasn't a threat. He was largely ignorable, and you would beat the shit out of the enemy Shisui and ignore him, and you would be fine. Yeah. So this team was a team. Then we had, and this team, I just threw shit together. It doesn't matter. The point is you have Shin. So Shin counters you being kind of counters. It's interesting. There's RNG. So he's going to give you, and you don't need the BT, by the way. He's going to give Anbu hiding. He's going to give hidden to Shisui. So you will not be able to be targeted for 2 rounds. And now, Shisui, if he's running the Y standard, can random into you and then remove your hidden. But sometimes it doesn't happen, and then you get countered, then you get sealed. And odds are, if you're the sealed Shisui, you lose your mystery, you're going to lose the fight. That's how it works. So outside of you running an insanely bad team that just feeds the enemy Shisui 9,000 standards, you're probably going to win from this position. Now, there's a lot of variations you can run with a Shin team. It doesn't really matter. The point is, it's like P4 Shin. He gives the buff, he dies. That's all you need him for. Yeah. Then, Hiruzen, same premise. You have a P4 Hiruzen does damage based on his max HP. He hits really fucking hard when you're at the point I'm at, like 100k, and my units have like 130k health, so it can push you over the edge. If your opponent isn't running something to stop him, or if your opponent isn't running, misclicks, or there's lag and shit, it's not easy to always interrupt him. Then they're fucked, And if you run into DB against 2 mil Shisuis when you're 4 mil, good luck. If they're both running here's then you have to fucking do something about that. Well, there is a counter to that later, but we'll get to that. And then now here we have the biggest shift in the meta, which is now we have Itachi Edo. And Itachi Edo basically counters everything here. He puts him to sleep. He ups his chakra cost so he can't contribute. He was never really a threat, honestly. He was ignorable. I would much rather have Itachi. I guess he doesn't counter this, sorry. Not Shin, but like random row. Itachi also does random row, and if you knew you were fighting a Shisui ahead of you, he goes right in front of you. Not random, sorry. He does discouragement on standard, to be specific. So he also could remove the hidden if it's like right in front. But anyways, and then he can put this motherfucker to sleep the moment he comes back alive. So yeah, this was the meta team for the longest time. It probably still is the meta team. It's probably like your all-rounder team. You're not going to feel bad running this team. You're going to have answers to a lot of shit. In addition to that, he also scales initiative if you're running the right BT. For the first debuff you're hit with, he'll eat it and then give you 1% initiative or something. I don't remember. I don't play this game. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. 2%, sorry. It's good, because being faster kind of wins you the fight in this meta. Then we got Neji. And Neji can reduce... he can reset Shisui to get his mystery off round 1. And that can, I'm telling you, that can win you the fight instantly. You now have a locked opponent, Shisui. He can never heal. He can never do anything other than standards. And it's usually not enough, especially if he can't heal. He's just gonna die, and you're just gonna outscale him. You're gonna outmaneuver him, and it's over for him. And yeah. In addition to that, let's say you already know you're faster. You can attack him and then make it so he can't heal for 2 rounds, because he does what the fuck's that debuff called? Is it even in here? Oh yeah, there it is. Prevents the enemy from healing suppression or something like that until the end of the next round. So you can make it so he never heals ever again, which is nice. He's very versatile. This team was fucking annoying. If you were not running this and you weren't running Shin, you were getting locked and you were gonna have a hard time clawing your way out of that. Next, okay, so no one runs this, but actually, if your P2 is faster than their Itachi or their Neji, this motherfucker also counters Shin because he removes buffs and shields from both sides. So you could counter Shin, Neji, and Itachi all by pressing 1 button. And he has chakra control, which is never a bad thing. Other than that, he's kind of not great. Honestly, you could run something other than Jiraiya with this team. The point is this counters a lot of the meta. It's because it's just... It basically guarantees you're getting your shit off first. Not guarantees, but it helps a lot. It pretty much it prevents you from being countered. And then let's say that you don't really care about round 1 and they're running Hiruzen, you just pop that bitch the moment they click their mystery. It counters a lot of shit all at once. Okay, so it doesn't really matter who the P2 is. The point is Angel of God Conan came out. BT, and she has a fun little thing where she chases knockdown. Who causes knockdown? All right, this bitch with an unavoidable chase that steals standards. So you can run her P3, P2, whatever your position you want, but if you go round 2 and you mystery, hell, you can even go round run. You can run her with fucking Neji. Well, you wouldn't have the chakra, you have to get chakra elsewhere. But point is, you run her, you fucking use your mystery, you steal their standards, and yeah, you can give them more standards on accident or incidentally, but if you don't, they don't get the standard or mystery, and then you can do it again and again and again and again, because she chases Shisui. So yeah, it's this thing. Or high flow or repulse. So she can continually steal the opponent's standards. And she's good. And she hits really fucking hard. If you're up there and your P3 stacked too, she hits really hard. She causes the irremovable attack pretty consistently. That is a massive defense and res reduction, and she just hits hard in general. She's clutch as fuck. And the last team is, we're going to use new Itachi. Now, this boy, he counters Shin and Hiruzen, which are, because his mystery, when you kill people with it, they're deleted. They don't come back to life. So if you time it to kill Hiruzen off, which is not always consistent, but it's consistent enough, no more worry about Hiruzen. And if you're fighting Shin, his mystery is unavoidable, and it removes shields and buffs. So Shin loses the ability to give hidden, or hidden is removed. So this team, and the same premise, this team kind of spams fear plus stealing of standards, and then, we have, Amaterasu debuff, which is stacking defense and res reduction. So this team's pretty ferocious. You start hitting really fucking hard. You get that shit stacked, and even though Itachi's descaling Shisui, it doesn't matter. Shisui scales hard enough, it is what it is. Let's just say honorable mentions to anybody that wanted to run. What's a good way to replace this? Well, there was one. Sasuke Rinne, he gives fear. Yeah. It was too inconsistent. You couldn't make your opponent attack a specific row, and then a lot of times it just wouldn't fucking proc because of control differences, and it just wasn't it. And then the other one that actually did work for its time, but it was completely broken with no counter, was Sai Swimsuit. So Sai comes out P4, he puts his barrier down, and normally with a barrier, the effect granted by the barrier is contingent on the barrier, not with this motherfucker. The moment the barrier comes out, now your units had 2 rounds to apply dyed ink if hit with, well, it was supposed to be pure Tai, I think, but it was Tai or pure nin, or the combination of both. I think it still is like that. I'm pretty sure Naruto's standard can still proc dyed ink, unfortunately for him. Anyways, this was broken because there was no counterplay. You couldn't erase that effect, and the moment that you got dyed ink on you, you lost your standards and your chases for 2 rounds. It basically hard countered Shisui, and it was really fun for the people that knew it was working. DB was hilarious. Most people didn't realize it. But basically you'd run Sai, he would put his barrier out, he would die, and then they would get dyed ink on them and just stand there looking at you menacingly, and then cry as they realize that they're not going to do anything. And you would probably win within 2 rounds, unless you were, 5 mil, which no one was 5 mil then. It might have lasted a little longer, but in that case your P4 wasn't going to die, and the bullshit would continue, because his mystery could apply at round 2, if you had the chakra, for 2 rounds, I believe. It's 2 rounds, or is it just 1? I think dyed ink just always lasts. I don't remember. It says 1 round, but I'm 99% sure that it lasted more than 1 round. It looked like it always lasted 2. Maybe it was 1 round, but it was always people's standards getting it on them and not mysteries. Yeah, that makes sense. Anyways, so yeah, honorable mention to him and Sasuke. Sasuke didn't really do anything during this meta. Well, now we got to talk about the future. So the future is Asura BT, right? So what's that going to look like? The problem right now is we really can't just run Asura P1 against Shisui, because we don't have any of the units China has that deals with Shisui really well. One of the things that would deal with it would be this new summon's mystery, but we have no ability to up his mystery to be able to suppress super armor for 2 rounds, because I don't care what team you run, you're going to have a hard time killing a Shisui because of his super armor. And then we don't have Hashi New Year BT, so we can't suppress it through there, or turn off Shisui's mysteries. We don't have Madara TTJ, which counters Ashura. We're talking about the changes to his chase that give irremovable paralysis when he's above a certain threshold. We don't have the new Gaara swimsuit. We'll probably have him next month. That kind of really shuts down Shisui. I'm not saying you won't see him, but my prediction is this is what you're gonna see. The moment that Asura BT comes out, this is what you're gonna see. And pick your P3. It doesn't. You could have a lot of different P3s. It's all about the same thing, because this is what, and like really, assuming we don't get Hashirama New Year, who's a better version of Jiraiya as a P3, you're looking at round 1. Ashura is, gonna chase several times. In round 2, you Shisui, suppress the super armor, and you're looking at a chase chain that's like 6 different chases from your Ashura. How is their Shisui going to survive that? They're not. They're gonna die, and then that's how it's gonna go until we get some variation on units. So Ashura, is a support. He's also a DPS, but Shisui's not going anywhere. Even when all I have to say is let's just say, for example, we get all the changes China has, right? And you're fighting a Shisui, and you're trying to use Ashura only. What are you gonna do against this? What are you gonna do when he gets that 2-round irremovable paralysis on you right here? Right here. If life is above 50%, paralysis becomes irremovable and it lasts 2 rounds. What are you gonna do? How are you gonna fight that with Ashura? It's a hard counter. You can't. You're gonna get that on you, and if Ashura's your main DPS, you're fucked. Even if you're running this boy, who does a really good job fucking with Shisui. Who are you running P3? I mean, you could run Hashi New Year and seal mysteries or standards. Probably mysteries because this guy can do irremovable blind. But then what? What are you gonna do? All he needs is 130 combo. It's gonna be tough. It's a really big weakness. And Shisui's still going to be scary. And like the thing is, this motherfucker can override Shisui's mystery lock, but he can't override irremovable acupuncture. So everybody is just gonna swap well. Everybody. People that know how to play the game are gonna just swap Shisui over to fucking Y mystery. And then he gets locked. Not that his mystery matters. It does 0 damage. If you've ever used Ashura, you should understand something about him. His mystery does 0 damage. You use his mystery for the weird ass fucking effects. Does it say it? Yeah. It's just basically, if you can mystery the opposing enemy's strongest unit every round, you pause their scaling the entire game so they never scale. Which is really good. It is. But it's not there to deal damage. And his standard doesn't deal damage either. So it's all about the chase and then the passive little trigger proc, which it basically is the same as the chase if you look at the damage. So the moment that he gets irremovable paralysis on him, it's over. Like, you have at least 2 rounds of it where you are dealing 0 damage, and if you think your opponent can't find a way to beat your team in 2 rounds, like to make it so you can't come back, yeah, I doubt it. Because this motherfucker doesn't deal damage. He exists to maybe blind you. The thing that's scary about him and why he's really fucking strong is he's reducing crit on your team every round by 15%. That's horrifying. And suppressing super armor. And discouragement doesn't really fucking matter. And then if he does crit you, you get irremovable blind for that round. So yeah. He is worthy of a Suku. You could put him as a $2,600 unit. He is insane. His BT is insane. but he doesn't deal damage. His standard hits hard, but everything else doesn't. You basically have to just get your little Torii Seal debuff on the enemy and then just chase them 500 times and stack irremovable poison up and just chunk them down like that. Which is fine, but this team doesn't deal a lot of damage. But it's really good. It does a really good job dealing with Shisui. Doesn't do a good job dealing with Asura. Has no counter for Asura at all. I guess you could run your own Madara here instead of him. Madara doesn't deal damage though, not really. He kind of does. He does old damage though. He was good back in the day. Now, he's support. And you have to keep his HP above 50%. The moment you're chucking him P3, unless you're like stacked towards 5 mil, your P3 is gonna die. Even then, your P3 is gonna get under 50% health sooner than you'd think. So, yeah, those are my thoughts. That was the Shisui meta. Let me know if I missed your favorite team that you've been stomping everybody with in DB or whatever. I don't know. Power creep. Look at it. In the form of a fucking guy with an inner tube. This is to be feared. This and this alone. Not Sasuke Chinese style. Oh well. Lost opportunity. Alright, see ya.